guys, it's Jen. Before I get started on this layout, I just want to give you a little bit of background about what I'm doing. So the other day in the Faith Hope Washi Facebook group, I think it was Suze who asked the question, if a movie star were to play you in a movie, who would it be? And I said Kate Winslet. And everyone was just kind of talking about how it would be fun to make a layout about that. And so I'm totally going to do that. And I am kind of like, I think it's important to scrapbook the sides of your personality that are like the funny side of your personality, which I'm pretty snarky and sarcastic and I joke around a lot. So I think that this will be a fun one to have in my album. But I am making the title like one of those horrible Lifetime movie titles. So the title's going to be A Girl Like Me, the Jen Scouse story starring Kate Winslet. And I just went online and found a picture of Kate Winslet and I put a picture of me right next to it. So those are going to be my photos for this layout. And this was just kind of like practicing and seeing what I want to use for my titling. Since this is my stamping and scrapbooking video for the week, I wanted to show you how you can use stamps for titling, and I love using stamps for my titles. It's really fun. Today I think I'm going to mostly stick to black, but it's really fun to do it with color as well. So that's just kind of where I'm starting out. I just wanted to give you a heads up, and I'll go ahead and put you on fast forward now. So actually, before I get into the layout, I did want to show you the stamps that I'm going to be using, at least that I think I'm going to be using. They are all three from Close to My Heart. They have really good alphabet sets. Some of these are older and unavailable anymore, but if you wanted to like search for them on eBay or something, you could look that up. This one is called the Headline Alphabet, and it's a really large alphabet. That's what I'm going to use for the bulk of the title. This one is called the Urban Alphabet. I have a prototype because I think I've mentioned before, I used to work at Close to My Heart, and so I have some of the prototype stamps. So that's this second one. And the last one is called Jennifer's Hand. And if you want to know a little secret, Jennifer is me. So this is my handwriting. And this is the first time I'm getting to use this stamp set, so I'm excited. So that is this one. Ooh. Sorry, it's not focusing. Let's see. There we go. Anyway, so those are the three stamp sets that I'm going to be using. You could, of course, just use one stamp set, or you could use, you know, whatever alphabet stamp sets that you have on hand. I just think this is a fun way to use them, and I know that I think alphabets are an easy way to get into stamping because you can create any title you want, and you don't have to worry about running out of stickers or anything like that, so it's really fun. So now I'm going to put you on fast forward. So as I showed you before, I pre-stamped out my title just on some computer paper because I wanted to see how much room it's going to take up. And this is something that I do a lot when I'm creating a title with stamping because I want to make sure I space things evenly. So I'm just cutting that up to see if I can fit it all across, so each part of the title in one line across the layout. So I really like the way it looks when I do A Girl Like Me and then the Jen Scouse story and then starring Kate Winslet. And the Kate Winslet part fits perfectly right above the photos. It's almost the same length, and so I really like the way that looks. So I have my 6x6 paper pad from the Maggie Holmes Shine collection, and I'm thinking about using it to mount the photo, and then I think that it might be nice if I put a few strips of paper across the top so that my photos can go lower, more toward that where that yellow bleeds into the cream. And so I'm thinking about doing a strip across the top, and I decide to go to my scraps and pull out the 12x12 sheet of that floral pattern paper to make a strip go all the way across. And then I'm thinking about layering up some of the 6x6 pieces underneath, but I just don't like how much color there is right there. It just doesn't work for me. And so I'm gonna look through and my scraps here and find a black and white striped paper, and it's the same paper I use for lines across the top of my layouts all the times. It's a We Are Memory Keepers paper, but there are lots of papers that are black and white striped that you could do this with. I don't know if I mentioned, but the background paper is also from the Maggie Holmes Shine collection, and I just love the way that yellow bleeds into the cream. And I kind of thought when I got this paper that I would use the yellow at the top of a layout, but I really like the way it looks at the bottom of this one, and it gives a nice neutral for me to stamp my title onto. So here I'm just putting that striped paper down below the floral, and I really like the way that looks. And at this point, I'm thinking, do I even want to bring any more color besides that yellow into the layout? I wasn't sure, but I'm going to go ahead and glue down those 2 strips at the top because I know for sure that I want those. And then I'm just ruffling up the edges a little bit. And then I'm going to play around with my title. And I was thinking, do I want to bring some blue into this? The blue polka dots on the branding strip of the paper is making me think that I might want to. So I pulled out some peacock ink from Close to My Heart, and I'm going to stamp again on a piece of computer paper just to test this to see if I like the way, oh, you know, it's not computer paper, it's just a scrap of paper, to see if I like the way that the blue looks with the black, because I'm thinking I might stamp the main part of the title, A Girl Like Me, in blue, and then the rest of the title in black. So I'm going to see how that works together. I know a lot of people have a hard time stamping on their scrapbook layouts because they're worried about messing up. But for me, I think just some good scratch paper is a great idea because I always stamp stuff out on scratch paper, cut it out, and lay it on my layout to see if it's going to work right. So I'm going to slow down the video here in just a second to kind of give you some tips and pointers about how I get some even stamping. So I thought I would slow down the video for just a minute and show you a few stamping techniques to get nice even stamping. Now, the stamping that I've done on these pieces was just so that I could get an idea for how much room my stamping would take up on the layout. And so I know I need to stamp these a little bit closer together. I might even overlap some of the words, we'll see, because I really want it to be for this title to go all the way across, and then this one to go all the way across, and then this one smaller, and that fits right above the photo. So I'm going to actually not use the black. I am going to go with the blue, and it's called Peacock, and it's a Close to My Heart color. It's one of their new colors, and it's just a really, really pretty blue. And so this is the color that I'm going to use to stamp A Girl Like Me. And so I just wanted to show you how I get nice even coverage for my stamps. So the most important thing to me is to have a good quality stamp. There are a lot of companies out there who have clear stamps that are really rubbery and they don't hold the ink well. What you want is a photopolymer stamp. And I know there are lots of companies like Hero Arts and Simon Says Stamp and the Felicity Jane stamps that I get, and these Close to My Heart stamps that are really good quality. And there are others out there, but those are the ones that I know of just off the top of my head. And those are a really good quality stamp. They do stain. If you watch Jen McGuire's videos at all, she talks about that sometimes. But anyway, so what I like to do is, if you're using a brand new stamp, I just like to rub it on the back of my hand. That gives some of the oils from your hand onto the stamp, and it just takes off the residue that's on the stamp, and you can get a better ink coverage. And then when I'm stamping, I'll zoom in a little bit here. So I like to do like a twist and tap. Sorry, it's not wanting to focus. A twist and tap kind of motion. So this stamp is really dark, so you can hardly see it, but I just kind of twist my stamp on and then I tap it off, and that gives me a really good ink coverage. Let me just show you right here. And then if you're using a really solid stamp like these letters, I have a foam pad underneath to kind of cushion it a little bit so that I get a cleaner stamped image. So if you're using a solid stamp, it's a good idea to have a cushion. So it's just this little foam pad from Close to My Heart. But you can use anything. You can use a mouse pad. Those little Amy Tangerine orange little pads that come in her stitching kits work for this as well. And the other thing is, when you're using a dye ink, so this is a dye ink that I have here, it's called a dye ink because it dyes the paper. So it soaks into the paper, and let me just zoom out a little bit again. There we go. it soaks into the paper and spreads out. And so when it dries, it evens out. So you can see right here, maybe, right here, that there's a little bit of splotchiness. But as this dries, the ink will fill in those splotches. And if you want to, if you're using a clear stamp and it's not stained like mine is, you can double stamp it. So just go right back over the top of it and double stamp it, and that will ensure that you get a nice clean image as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on super fast forward while I stamp out my title, because I'm sure that you do not want to take all the time to see me do that. So I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, so I'm going to slow down again for just a second because I wanted to show you I made this mistake right here. And I stole this tip from Jen McGuire, but what you can do if you do something like that is just take the end of a paintbrush or something. And so I stamped it so that it's a little offset right here, but what I'm going to do is just fill in this white area. So I'm just going to dab the end of this paintbrush into my ink pad. Sorry, it's having a hard time focusing. And I'm just going to dab that into those white spaces. And if you have something spongy instead of this, like the back of this paintbrush, that works really well. But this works fine too, and I'm just dabbing it in there. And then that will go ahead, that will even out, and you won't even be able to tell. I am sorry about that focus. So I'll go ahead and zoom back out and put you back on fast forward. So I've gone ahead and sped this part of the video up 8 times, and so you can kind of get a feel for I'm going 8 times slower than this video actually is, so I'm not super fast when I'm doing this. And I do overlap a few of the letters just so that I can squish that title onto that line. And I'm using my digital SLR to film my videos now, and sometimes it goes in and out of focus a lot, and so if anyone has any tips for me on that, I would be appreciative. And I apologize for that, and it might be because I'm standing up and my arms are getting in focus. I don't know, maybe I should try sitting down again. I think I need a taller chair. Anyway, now I'm using that Close to My Heart Urban Alphabet to stamp in black the Jen Scouse story, So Dramatic. And I'm not worrying too much about being exactly perfect on the stamping. I don't care about being exactly perfect. If you do, then you're going to have to take a lot longer, but I can't be bothered to care too much. I want it to be sort of straight. So I'm using the bottom of those blue letters as a guide for me to stamp these words. And I think it turned out pretty good. That's why I gave a thumbs up there. And now I'm going to stamp starring Kate Winslet, and I went ahead and grabbed my paper so I could make sure I got that centered, and I'm starting that in the right place. And I messed up a little bit on the A, so I just grabbed my black Muji pen and drew it in, and that's really easy to do when you're stamping in black, is just grab a pen to fill in any mistakes. So I'm using the Jennifer's Hand alphabet like I mentioned before, which is kind of fun, and just stamping starring Kate Winslet. And I love Kate Winslet. And I think I mentioned at the beginning, but the photo I'm using I just found online, and I printed them on my Canon selfie. So it's a picture of me and right next to a picture of her. And I'll go ahead and, now that I'm done with my stamping, go ahead and move on to the rest of my layout. I'm trying to decide if I want to put something behind the photo, and I kind of like the way these little paint swatches look behind it, so I'm going to try that. And I actually really like the way it just brings a little bit of interest to the photos, but it's not overpowering. I didn't like it when I had a big swatch of color at the top, but just little bits poking out the sides I really like on the photos, so I'm going to do that. But before I do that, I'm going to use some modeling paste. These are some modeling pastes that I got at Tuesday Morning by Art C, and I mostly got them because one of the packages came with a silver and one came with a gold, and they were $2.99 for 3 of them. Or no, it was $1.99. So I got 6 of these little bottles for $4, which is awesome. And so I'm just using the white, but I thought I might use the gold, so I pulled out both of them. And this is a Heidi Swap stencil, and I'm just doing the stars because duh, Kate Winslet is a star, and so I wanted to put some stars on there for sure. So I just placed the stars in kind of randomly on the left and the right hand side where I know it will kind of peek out from underneath the photo and the stuff I'm going to put around the photo. And it's hard to see here, but you can see them really good in the close-up photo, so be sure to look for that at the end or over on my blog at CraftyJenScow.com, where you can see all the still photos. And I'm just cleaning off my stencil. I used a smaller spatula or palette knife. I remembered the word that time. Than I usually do because that's all that can fit in those little artsy containers. It's ART and then the letter C, FYI. And I'm using, this is one of my favorite washi tapes, and it is from Michaels, and it is a film strip. And I thought it was perfect for this layout, obviously. So I just adhered that to the bottom of the layout, and I left a little bit of yellow underneath it. And now I'm going to go ahead and work on my journaling. So what I did was I went and typed up my journaling on my typewriter, and I found this die cut from the Chamel True Stories collection that says original, and I typed out the word my lifetime. So now it says my lifetime original, like my lifetime original movie, which I think is funny. And while I'm cutting up all of these journaling strips, I will go ahead and read my journaling to you. I was trying to be funny and I was cracking myself up, so we'll see if you think it's funny, but I was laughing. So the journaling says, I think Kate would play me well because we look exactly alike. She's British and I've always wanted to go to England. She seems witty. I'm witty. She's a wonderful actress, and I really think she could capture my emotions. Things like the way I cry when I look at the mountains, or the way I cry when I see a dad teaching his child how to ride a bike, or the way I cry when my Diet Coke spills. She looks really great when she cries, I think. I stole the My Diet Coke spills thing from Tracy Claiborne, but I've been there. I feel that, so I thought it was fitting here, and I liked the way it fit into my journaling. It goes on to say, Kate could play a younger, awkward me and truly make people understand how hard it was to be so weird looking. She could tug at their heartstrings in a way that my crying never did. Also, I think we could be best friends in real life. So that's my journaling, and it's a little bit silly, and I really like that it's a little bit silly. The title, it's just, I don't know if this will be relevant down the road, but right now, like Lifetime movies and their titles are something that we've joked about in my family before, and it's just like a little funny thing that Lifetime movies we all know are kind of silly and dramatic, and so right now this works really really well, and I really like that. When I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I think it's important to document like our silly side, because I have a tendency to scrapbook emotionally and to kind of I don't know, be kind of weepy and like, oh, I love you so much and this was awesome. And I do scrapbook funny things sometimes, but I haven't really scrapbooked a side of my personality that's kind of the silly side. And I think it's important that people know that I wasn't just always serious and reflective. Like sometimes I was silly, and this is definitely a part of that. And I like that. So I'm just going ahead and gluing on those little paint swatches to the back of my photo, and I cut them up, so I'm kind of just eyeballing it to line them up so that it looks like a full strip going across. And I glued down all of my journaling strips with Scotch Quick Dry adhesive in a fine line bottle. And just as far as the photo goes, I purposely chose a photo of Kate where she kind of looked like a normal girl, but she was a little bit reflective in the photo, like with her hand under her chin. And I thought that was funny, and it kind of went along with my photo well, and so I really liked that. My daughter actually told me when she came home and looked at it, she laughed out loud when she read the journaling too, but she told me that we looked alike, and that was the best compliment I've ever received. I'm playing around with this little tab that says My Story. It doesn't end up making it onto the layout, which is fine because it already says the Jen Scow story. I'm playing with a few of these ticket kind of things. I thought a movie tickets, even though a Lifetime movie would be on TV, but whatever. And I'm looking through some of these wildflower die cuts. That's from We Are Memory Keepers. And I found these tickets. They say admit one. So I'm going to put one on either side. My design is going down the center, and so I want to make everything balanced on the left and the right hand side. I think that's why I couldn't get that My Story tab to work, because I kept wanting to put it off to one side and it wasn't feeling balanced, and so I didn't like the way it looked in the center, so I'm going to play around with it a bit more and then just get rid of it. Then I'm going to look and see what else I want to add to the layout, and I decide to put some Heidi Swap Gold Color Shine splatters on my layout. And I have a new bottle, and it is full, and the splatters kind of got everywhere, which is okay. I like the way it ends up looking. I do get a little bit of a halo around my splatters because it's not shaken up quite enough, and it's hard to shake up really well when it's a fresh bottle, but I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me. So I'm also going to add some of that film strip washi tape at the top of the layout, and I'm just centering it. I don't make it go all the way across, but I just like the way it brings that up to the top of the layout. And then I'm pretty much going to be done. I'm just going to look for some enamel dots, and I'm going to end up using some Close to My Heart blue enamel dots because I want to bring a little bit more blue into the central part of the layout because I have a lot in that bold title. So the dark blue dots that I use are from the Close to My Heart blue enamel and glitter duos, and then the lighter blue ones are from a Michaels package that I got in the dollar spot or whatever. And I'm just going to put 3 on each side, and that is going to complete the layout. Here are some still photos. I hope that you enjoyed. I also wanted to just give you a quick reminder that me and Arit's class, Die Cut Diversity, which shows you how to use die cuts in lots of different ways, is on sale now, and the price goes up on Monday. So if you haven't taken advantage of that, be sure to do so. You can find it out more at classes.craftyjenscow.com. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.